So welcome to this lecture for potential teachers. So yeah, come on, you haven't missed much. So it's sort of new now, new philosophy about teaching. Yes, we are going to use more of PhD students, postdocs in teaching. Hence, it could be nice for you guys to have some tips how to do teaching. And if you now can imagine the scenario, you have been given the task. Yes, you are going to give a course next semester. That's your job. Of course, it's no secret that teaching at the universities, for many of the professors, it's real pain in the beep, because they really want to do the research. They don't have time to this lecture things. So it's sort of just a work that you have to do. That's one way to look at it. And that's not the good one, but never mind. So yeah, you have been given the scenario. You are going to teach a course, and you have never been teaching before. Then, of course, it's frightening. Yes, it's terrifying. I think actually Jerry Seinfeld talked about a survey they had done in the US. What was people most afraid of? Number one was talking to a bigger audience. Death was number two. So meaning you would rather die than actually do the eulogy. I mean, come on. Yes, it's terrifying. And the first time, well, we have all been there. Yes, you are afraid. You walk into a room and there are hundreds of students sitting there looking at you. And of course, yeah, you can shit your pants. It happens. And if you do, then that's okay. Just don't turn your back to the audience, which you shouldn't do anyway. So that's okay. That's okay. And if you have to vomit, then you can pretend you dropped something, and then you bend down, and then you puke behind the front desk, and nobody sees it. That's okay. That's okay. So yes, it's terrifying, and I can't really help you with that. That is something you have to face. One thing that might be of help: keep in mind that the people in the auditorium, they are there for a reason. They want the information. That's your job, just to give them the information. And if possible, give it well, so they get it. And you are there for a reason. I mean, this multi-headed monster is not there to eat you or make fun of you. So relax, give the information. That's the whole point. And yes, when you have done this for 10, 15 years, you will relax a little bit more. So it will pass. It will pass. Okay. I will start with what you are not to be doing. And as I said, it's obvious. I guess you've all seen such versions of teachers. They actually hate it, they don't like it. It's just a sort of something painful they just have to do. They want to do research, or they want to sleep in their desks, I don't know. So we have all of them. And what is then illegal also for a beginner to read from a manuscript. You never read from a manuscript. You will have of course, as support, yes, you have maybe some notes with you. You're allowed to have a piece of paper there, but not entire sentences, just bullet points, just small words, so that you can remember what's coming next. So never, never, ever a manuscript. When I was a student here the first year, we had a professor teaching us chemistry. In those days, we use an overhead, and on this overhead, then you have slides, foils, and he actually had an overhead using plastic roll, and he had the notes from previous years on that roll. So when he came in, he put it on the overhead, and then he just started rolling. And we were sitting there trying to make notes. He was reading the entire foil. He didn't look at the class at all. We had no way of learning anything, and we actually didn't really have time to copy that stupid roll either. I mean, the guy also showed up in his laboratory coat, so obviously he was just get finished and then go back to the lab. I mean, he wasn't interested in teaching at all. And I've hated chemistry since. So that is unfortunate, I would say. Don't do it like that. And yes, you never show up late. You have to be present, and you should be there at least 10 minutes before the class starts. You have to clean the blackboard. If it's a small room with loose tables, the people before you, they have reorganized, they have some group meetings or something. You have to move all the tables in the way you want it. You have to switch on your computer, hook it on. It takes time. So never ever show up late. That's just rude. That's just rude. So no, you don't do that. And yes, if you don't have a large booming voice, of course you use the microphone. They are quite efficient, and all the rooms have them. So you just hook on the microphone, and then students should hear you quite well. Of course, it depends. If you have a basic course, say the first couple of years, they are typically mandatory courses, and yes, you will have 100, 200 students in the room. If you are teaching a more advanced course, it will be fewer. Then you will have like 20, maybe even 10. And also if it's a PhD course, you don't have many students. So it will differ what kind of job you will have there. But still, you can use a microphone, even in small rooms. That's up to you. Just to remember to switch it off when the class is done. There's some terrible stories about conferences where a speaker, he forgot that he had the microphone on. So after his talk, he went to the toilet. The entire room could hear everything. And then he started talking to one of his colleagues, really trashing out the speakers, his colleagues, and also the chairman. And all of a sudden he disappeared from that conference, has never been seen since. So the entire career went down the drain just because he forgot the microphone. So don't forget it. This quote, I mean, this is a disastrous accusation. If this is the point, if this is what you are aiming to do, then you might as well don't have to show up as a teacher. You can give them your notes, and then they can make copy of themselves. You don't have to be there. I mean, they can read it by themselves. So what's the point? You're not supposed to sort of repeat the book, say via the blackboard and down to the students' notes. That's not the point. That's not your job. So there you have to be sort of focusing. What should I spend time on? How much time do I have? Yes, you have to focus on what's difficult. What's easy, the students can read it themselves, as long as they get some references and some knife in the back, so they actually do it. For instance, as an exercise. Yeah, so they have to learn it. But I mean, this is exactly what you have to avoid. Yes, this is also something you shouldn't do. I actually use this sometimes for some students in exercise scenarios, but do it with a smile. So they accepted it. That was okay. And of course you shouldn't do it. And the obvious answer for the student would then be, of course, it's your job to teach me what I need to solve this. And yes, some students may have trouble with something. Okay, it's your job to help them. So, no, don't tell them they're stupid. That's not good. What should you do? You have to be enthusiastic. You have to sort of feel that this topic is so fascinating, it's amazing, and the only reason that you are born on this planet is to pass this information on to the next generation. That's the only thing that you want to do. It's breathtaking, totally. All the courses, they're just boring rubbish in comparison. This is the important course. I mean, you have to have that feeling, definitely. And if you don't have that feeling, well, you have two options. Option number one, you get another job. Option number two, you fake it. That works just as fine. You just fake the enthusiasm. But you have to appear enthusiastic. You can't just stand there with a monotonic voice. They are totally falling asleep. So keeping the student awake, I would say, oh yes. How to keep them awake? Well, I like to walk around. And also I like to mix Blackboard and then some maybe PowerPoints, animations, back to Blackboard. Mixing around a little bit, I think that works. I mean, Blackboard is sort of old-fashioned, but I mean, the students actually sitting there taking notes. They can still fall asleep by all means, but I mean, you have to keep them awake somehow. So being active and enthusiastic, ooh, that's the only thing that matters. And it's so important that, I mean, even if you're enthusiastic and you have your sort of list of bullet points that you should remember, if you forget something, that's actually better than to forget something than reading from a boring manuscript. Then nobody will get anything with them, but at least they will get what you tell them when you are enthusiastic. And if you have forgotten something vital, okay, then you take it up in the next class, in the next lecture, no problem. So enthusiasm, that is clearly the most important thing that you should do. Then, yes, you have been given the job, and you have some homework to do before the first class. Yes, you have. You have to look at the time schedule. That one is given to you by a computer, so it can be very, very hard to change. We have a lack of auditorium rooms on campus, so changing the lecture times can be extremely difficult. For big courses, forget it. You can't change it. It's not possible. Sometimes you will ask for a bigger room. You have more students than anticipated. Remember, when we set up a course, then we guess 20 students. That was the number last year. Okay, but next year it comes 30, then it's not big enough room. You may try to ask for a bigger room, but not necessarily that you will succeed. So that's a danger. And I mean, this setup has nothing to do with you. You have been given the job now. This setup was done last year. So we do that every year, and the deadline is early November or something like that. And before the semester starts, enter the room, check it out. Especially get used to this punching system, the menus, so that you get everything working. That's important. You don't have time to mess around with that, say the first time inside the lecture hours. Then you're losing 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You don't have time for that. So check it out before, of course. I mean, the rooms are open, so you can check it out now if you know them. So no problem there. It would be nice to know a little bit about the student's background. What study program they come from, and are they exchange students or what? Not necessarily that you will be given that information so easily, but we have a couple of secretaries here, Anita, Nina. Ask them, talk to them, and yes, they may provide you with a list of the students and where they actually belong. What faculty do they belong to? What program do they belong to? That can be nice to know, of course. You will also find, say, the course description and also the exam, how that one is supposed to be arranged. And this is sort of given by law. You have no choice. As an example, let's see now if we can get this one. Here, for instance, turbulent flow. Next semester, what do you know? So, yeah, you have the description here, course description. And one important thing there, somewhere here, you sort of have the learning objective. And this is something a lot of professors tend to forget. This is the whole point. This is what the students are supposed to learn when the course is done. Keep that one in the back of your head. And also here it should say something about required previous knowledge and also recommended previous knowledge. There's a difference. Required meaning if you don't have it, then you're not allowed to be here. But recommended, then yeah, you should have it, but you may survive if you don't. So important. But of course, we have a lot of exchange students here. They don't have this course. They may have some similar, but what? Find out. Ask them. That's an option. Then the timetable. For turbulence, then we will have something like, where are we? Here, for instance. Yeah. I would say, Leon, you are quite lucky. It's a good setup. Lectures should be between 8 and 12. Early in the day, then the students are roughly awake. Exercises after lunch, that's okay. Also, nice here, well, sort of nice, lecture, and then you have exercises late. Maybe a little too late, but never mind. I mean, some of these students, they may have babies. I have to go and fetch them from the kindergarten. Come on, I mean, you can't be there after 4. I mean, that's quite common. Then what you do? So, as I said, these times are sort of glued. You can't really change them. What you can change is now, for instance, and that has happened several times, we have been given double hours here, Monday morning at 8, exercises. That's totally insane. No student will show up on exercise 8 o'clock in the morning. Lecture, okay, but not exercises. Then of course you switch. Then I say, these are the lectures, and what's scheduled to be exercises are now lectures. Yes, you can do stuff like that, but be aware, because there's a reason that the stupid computer have then given you these stupid hours, exercise at 8 o'clock, because they try to make the lectures collision-free for the different students, and that can be very, very hard indeed. So if you change it, then you might risk, oh, I have another course at another lecture in these hours. Then you may not be able to do it. So ask them, show of hands, when have you any collision, any objection that we switch? So that is also at least possible. And here, that one also is given by law. You can't change it. So if it says, yes, it's a written exam, then it is a written exam. If it's using Inspera system, then you have to use Inspera system. This is given. You can, of course, also keep it in the back of your head. If you're given a course, and you're not only teaching it 1 year, but maybe several years to come, then you can change this setup. Just do it before November. That will sort of take care of the next semester. So keep that one in the back of your head. But I mean, if you're only doing it once, then of course you don't want to change anything. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see, where were we? Yeah, here we are. First lecture. First time. You may have a problem when you enter the room, or I mean, you have been there, of course, in 10 minutes, organizing everything, see that everything is okay, and the students start showing up. Then first lecture in the semester can be very hard to actually get their attention. They haven't seen another after the Christmas vacation or the summer vacation. They talk to each other because they have a lot of talk to each other about. So you can't get the noise down. How do you just start? Just the first sound you make. Well, you have to do something. So you can yell out, "Shut up and sit down." I mean, you have to do something. A dirty trick is you just start talking, but you talk very loud, very soft, very low. Then the students will start hushing each other. Or you just start writing something on the blackboard. So obviously then the lecture is started, but the students are still making a lot of noise. But if you just start, they will start hushing each other. And remember, they are there to learn. They want the information. So that works. It's not so nice. I like better to sort of yell at them. "Welcome, ladies and gangsters," or something like that. And I mean, starting with a joke, I think that's also a good idea. So I like to say things like, "Please feel free to interrupt me with a question if you have anything. But I'm getting old, so I don't see so well anymore. I don't hear so well anymore. I don't smell so well anymore. So if you have a question, yell out." You just set the atmosphere a little bit. I like that. And then, important. The first appearance, you must be oozing with self-confidence. This is something you love to do and you are good at it. You know how to address an audience and give them the information they want. If you don't feel that way, fake it. That works just fine. But you have to sort of give the impression that, yes, this guy really knows what he's talking about and he is good at it. So, and the reason this is very important for the first minutes, you have to sign a contract. Hey, who talked about the contract? This is just a job, isn't it? Well, it's actually an implicit contract between you and the students. You promise that if you follow my course, my lectures, you follow my sort of schedule for the exercises, then you will be safe in this course. You will manage it well and you will have a nice grade afterwards. I am capable of teaching you this course. This is the contract. And you have a 15-minute window to do that. If you sort of fail and are a little bit disorganized in the start there, the students will, this is a waste of time. I can read this course myself by reading a book. That's not good. So sign the contract. You have 15 minutes. And when you address the students then, sort of giving them some comfort, yes, I will make you survive in this course. Remember, you have both ends of the scale for these students. You have some of them, especially if it's advanced courses, that's a course the students they have chosen themselves, they will be motivated, they will be interested. So they are eager to get a good grade. But if it's a mandatory course, then some of the students, obviously, then they are not really interested. They only want to pass. They only wanted to have a grade E, and then they will be happy. And you sort of have to address both of them at both ends of that scale and comfort them. So how can you do that? Well, one thing, actually something that you should do anyway, you have to sort of give them a course outline, your plan for the semester. And then you can say something like, it's a well-known fact that some students, they will fall behind during the semester. They take a week at Åre, go skiing, they break a leg or give birth or some lame excuse for not being there. So yeah, they fall behind. And then it's important to tell them, don't give up. There will be, say, change in topics in this course. We change over a chapter, a new area, where we sort of start anew. So, okay, if you are falling behind, then I will inform you when we start something new, and then you can start fresh. So never give up. That's important. You should never ever give up. Of course you shouldn't. Yeah, I think that was sort of it, yeah. Okay, how to do the lecture? Well, I won't tell you how you're supposed to do your lecture. As I said, I like to use the blackboard, old-fashioned, but I think it works. Of course, you then have to show the back to your students. And I mean, I haven't learned yet to write like that. I mean, that's pretty hard. So, but that's totally up to you. Some like to actually draw on a tablet, showing it on screen. Okay, why not? Using just PowerPoints or something like that? No, don't do it. They are going to fall asleep, of course. And you are going to fall asleep while talking, so it's very boring. So, I mean, you have to do something a little bit active here, of course. But I won't tell you how to do it. So, again, be yourself. I mean, be relaxed. Talk with your natural voice. Don't try to remember all phrases that you were supposed to say. Just talk naturally. And if you mess it up a little bit, students will accept almost anything. They are quite rough. They have had their amount of bad teachers already, so don't worry about it. And if you forget something, take it up in the next lecture, no problem. Works just as fine. So don't worry about it. And yes, you're going to make mistakes. So when you do some calculations and an example of something on the blackboard, then actually might be an idea if you are very clever yourself, you never do mistakes, then do a mistake anyway. And then some students, hopefully then, will raise their arm and, hey, there's a mistake here. Are you implying that I have done a mistake? Do you have a solicitor? I mean, you can make a joke out of it. So no, they're doing a mistake. So that's just fine. That's just fine. And yes, you're going to do it. Of course you are. Nobody is perfect here. Of course. And how to keep them awake? Well, I like to walk around a little bit, yeah. And also a good trick. You can smuggle in some stupid jokes. You are talking theory, whatever, and then you can say something like, and this, the consequences of this theorem really makes my hair stand on end, and for me that's a neat trick. And then you just continue talking. And then you can actually see the students. It's quite hilarious. What did he say? Should we write this down? Are we supposed to laugh? Will this be on the exam? I mean, it's actually quite fun. Just smuggle in some stupid jokes here and there. No, that's a very neat trick. Another nice trick, you have some examples going close to the end, and then you say, and the answer is going to be, obviously, and then you make a sort of a pause. And then you look at the students. And the answer is going to be, obviously, and you can see the students. Oh, Jesus, don't ask me. No. I'm not here. Huh? They really wake up. Of course, you say the answer yourself, but use just a little break there. 5 seconds. That's all you need to do. All of them will wake up. And the answer is going to be, oh, Jesus, no, don't ask me. It's a dirty trick, but it works. I can recommend that one. Yeah. So of course, yeah, when you write the blackboard, if you have some nice anecdotes to talk about, yeah, please keep them entertained. And also important, you're given 45 minutes. And yeah, you should actually stick to the 45 minutes. Can be sort of a little bit of a pain if you're in the middle of an, say, difficult example or an exercise. then yeah, you can, when you have a double hour, then from in the first break there, yeah, you can go 5 minutes above. That's allowed. But you can forget that the students then will come in quarter past. They will take their 15 minutes either way. It's always been like that. And if you let them go 5 minutes early, they won't show up until quarter past anyway. Just so you are aware. But for the last lecture, then they have to run to another class on the other side of campus. They don't have time for you to go over your time. So you should never do that. Then it's actually better to stop. Okay, we halt here and continue with this in the next lecture. That's actually better. So sort of have an eye on your stopwatch. That's important. Exercises. A lot of the professors here, they never show up on their own exercises. Never. They sort of just send the assistants. They don't bother show up themselves. That is not good. It's during the exercises where you actually can see whether your information has reached the students or not. If they have misunderstood something or they have failed completely to understand what you were talking about. So you are sort of a student assistant yourself during this exercise hours. That's important. And also it's important for the students. They can actually talk to you and they can ask questions about the theory and whatever. So that's a very, very good idea. Furthermore, you have typically some student assistants. We are allowed 1 student assistant per 30 students. That's the rule. So you have 1 or 2 or 3, or I don't know how many students you have then, but you have some assistants, at least 1. And being there in the room for the exercises then will actually also help him, because this poor student assistant, well, he was a student last year, and of course he has done some mistakes himself, and he has forgotten a little bit about it, so maybe he needs help if he gets nasty questions from the class. So then you can help out. So yes, definitely you should be there. You should be present. And I mean, the exercises are important anyway. That's also something you should tell the kids. Yeah, you can sleep in the lectures. That's not the theory. You can read that yourself afterwards. That's not solely important. But do the exercises. That's where you learn the course. So do your exercises, or else I'll shoot you in the face with a bazooka. And I ask, but the administration keeps saying no to violence against students. Even with a puny little bazooka, I don't know why. So you have to exaggerate something a little bit from time to time to get their attention. But I mean, the exercises are important. And yes, they may find the exercise solutions from last year if you are lazy and just give them the same exercises as last year. Okay, I mean, they are grown-ups, so if they want to cheat, be my guest. But tell them it's a bad idea. They should fight and struggle with an exercise. But you should also tell them, yeah, fight with the exercise. And you stop when you can't get any further. Then it's just a waste of time. If you sort of bang your head into the wall, then you're just wasting time. Then you will seek out help. Then you talk to the student assistants or you as a teacher and ask for help. Or ask a colleague. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, you're supposed to learn something from an exercise. It shouldn't just be a pain in the butt, of course. Also, you should instruct your student assistants if they detect something that a lot of students have misunderstood, they haven't really grasped the point here, they should tell you. Then you can address it in the next lecture. So that's also a point. Furthermore, you must also instruct them how much should a student do on an exercise to get passed or not passed. I mean, what's the rule here? A little bit up to you. I mean, in the old days, we said, yeah, if you can write your name, then it's passed. So you can do whatever you want there. Some teachers, they like to say the first exercise, instruct the assistants, then we kill them. Then whatever they send in, you will write not good enough, do it again, just to put the level a little bit high. And then after some weeks, yeah, you lower the bar. But it's up to you, up to you. Normally we say, if it's a decent attempt, passed. I mean, everything can be wrong, but at least they have tried and they have struggled with it, obviously. Then it's okay, I would say. And the level on these exercises, well, in my optic, I think the exercises should have at least the same difficult degree as you will have on the exam. Remember, the exercises will also be training towards the exam anyway. Oh, it was you. It was me. So yeah, I think the exercises should be at least on that level. I mean, if you do it the wrong way here, you have easy exercises and then you have a tough exam. That's not fair. So better to do it the other way around. A little too tough exercise, and then the exam will be a walk in the park. I mean, much better. But again, it's up to you. It's up to you. So, end of the semester then. Well, important point there. You have to explain to the students the rules of the game. Meaning, how do we grade the exams? They should get that information. I mean, this is sort of obvious, I think, but I know several teachers, they don't do that. So the rules of the game could be very, very nice to know. How do we grade? Am I allowed to do some stupid attempt here or not? So they should know this before the exam, of course. I'll show you a list later here. Setting up question lectures, essential. Unless you want to have 40 students knocking on your office door and asking for help before the exam. You arrange some question lectures. So then at least you have one buffer there that can handle questions before the exam. What we have done in the basic course in fluid mechanics, we have 400 students. Then of course you can't sort of address all questions in one room, that's not possible. So we arrange what you call a fluid cafe, use the cafeteria areas and tell the students, okay, on that day from 12 to 3, some professors or scientific assistants will walk around the table and answering questions. That one works very, very fine indeed, instead of having them waiting outside your door all the time. So that one I can really recommend when you have a big class. If you have a few students, then it's no problem. Then it's no problem. So here was a list. This one is one we use in basic fluid mechanics, sort of trying to explain the rules of the game, how we grade an exam. So, of course, this is a basic course. I'm not sure that all these rules may apply in more advanced courses. So here, for instance, if you have no idea what to answer, then you say something like, I have no idea how to do this, but maybe we should use Bernoulli. I mean, the students are able to think, 1 point. Maybe you're not supposed to use Bernoulli. Then in an advanced class you might get a negative score, but in basic courses we don't do that. Hence, you should write something, because writing blank is the worst thing you can do. And so on and so forth. Yeah, we have plenty of such, say, grading concepts, grading rules. And yes, they will be aware of this before the exam. And I think also that helps a lot. When you do the exam or make an exam, if you make it too easy, all the students will have an A. Well, the students won't complain, but actually it will be caught up in the administration system, and you will be yelled at for making a too easy exam. If you do it the other way, I can assure you that the students will yell and that will be heard. So then you're in trouble. But if you sort of have agreed, or let's say talk to the students in advance with the rules, yeah, then they sort of know how this game works. And also how to make an exam, well, that's not so easy. That's not so easy. And things have changed. It was easier in the old days, but nowadays it's a different story actually. For instance, in basic fluid mechanics, I found this this exercise problem from 1970-ish, something like that, and you can see one question. And to answer that question, you have to calculate everything. We don't do that anymore. We sort of guide them through the entire problem. Start very easy, and then show this and show that, and so on and so forth. So this is typically what we do nowadays. You might argue, why? I mean, that's a good question. But also, I think in those days, when they do the grading of the exam, they checked, was the expression of the force correct? No, fail. So you had failed or not failed on each part question. They didn't check if the student has done something sensible in between here before he then has done an error. So that's too rough. But I mean, these are the rules that the students has to know. And of course you have to give them that. How do we think when we do the grading? And this one is much more safe, of course. Also remember, universities, we get money per student done with the study program. We don't get money for the students that start. We get money for the students that are finished. Hence, you shouldn't fail them. That's obvious. How to create an exam? Well, look at your learning objectives. That's important. That's the whole point with the course. And yes, you have some old exams probably, unless this course is brand new. If the course is brand new, then actually you should give the students, call it a trial exam, so they can have an idea what's to come, if they haven't ever seen an exam in this course before. But if it's an old course, then no problem. Then they have a lot of old exams, and also that's a good training for them, doing or checking all the exams. I also like to use some of the exercises, maybe not exactly, but as a starting point, and maybe changing it a little bit. But I mean, the students that does the exercises will then have some additional bonus on the exam. And that's a good, that's sort of a good idea to have, to show next year's students. Maybe it's a good idea actually to check the exercises, because some of them are probably going to show up on the exam anyway. So that's a good thing. Yes, you can use textbooks, looking at other universities. And yes, of course, you can ask your colleagues with help for an exam. Typically for an exam, after you have made it, I normally do a self-test. And for the basic course, yes, I should be able to answer that exam in 1 hour. Then I think it's a decent amount of work for the students. But I mean, this is also something to do with experience. If you have an external censor, he can also do a job there. Send him a copy of the exam and ask, is this exam too hard, too easy, or what? And also, it must be within your course. I mean, that is a huge mistake. You give them an exercise problem that is outside the scope of the course. Then you're in trouble. That's not allowed. Remember also there, learning objectives. It must be within the learning objectives, or else it's, what's the point? It's an old classical story. I haven't been able to have it confirmed, but it goes like this. A student, he was going to fail on the exam, he knew that. But he showed up, and then you have to sit for an hour before you are allowed to leave. At least in those days, that was the rule. And I mean, he was going to resit this exam anyway, but he had to be there. So just to make time pass, he made a nice drawing of an elephant. I mean, he had nothing else to do. In those days, we had a grading from 1 to 6. 1 was the best, and 4, that was just passed. 5 and 6, that was fail. And when they did the grading then, they thought this drawing of the elephant was so nice, so they didn't want to give him 6, which was 6 is blank. So they gave him 5. Didn't pass, of course. But then later, the students complied about this exam because there were some formal errors. There were some tasks outside the scope of the course. So then they did a very pragmatic thing. They lifted all the grades up 1. So he passed with a drawing of an elephant. I really like that story. So here, some experience tips. Make the first question very, very easy. Very easy. And you can sort of see the students, oh, I know this. Yes, I can handle this. If the first 1A is impossible, then they're going to get desperate and leave the room. So question 1A, very, very easy. And also if you have an oral exam, that might happen when you have few students. Now remember, the students here, they are not so used to oral exams. At first, well, in more advanced classes maybe, but normally it's a written exam. But if you have an oral exam and you start grilling this poor student, make sure that your first question is very easy. So he really, I know this. And he relaxes, he can start talking and describing and whatever. First question, very, very easy. Can actually be so easy at what would you like to talk about? What do you find most interesting in this course? What have you been good at in this course? And then he can sort of relax and start talking. But then you can stop him and then start asking him more difficult questions, of course. That's up to you. But first question, easy. And this is a nice trick. Yeah, you make a tough exam. Really tough. So during the exam, the students are sitting there, they're crying and they are desperate. And when they leave the exam hall, everybody's going, oh, this was terrible. And then you are kind during the grading. And then nobody will complain. That's the way we do it. Because it has to be said, it's a real pain, all these complaints that we get after an exam. You have to sort of regrade a whole bunch afterwards again. Boring. So, a tough exam, and then you are very kind during the grading. Of course, fair, that's important, but kind. I like that. Yeah, and also what you expect. So, the questions there has to be clear. But I mean, that's also something you can ask for help by colleagues, or other teachers, whatever. So I think that's quite essential. But keep in mind, in the back of your head, you're making an exam, the learning objective. That's the whole point with the course. Students are supposed to learn something. Okay. Any questions from you guys? No? That's okay. Then good luck with your teaching.